O'Reilly, thanks for watching us tonight. Taps, collusion, and chaos. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo, and this memo will be free of speculation. No spec zone. The Trump haters say his campaign worked with the Russians to derail Hillary Clinton's chances to be president. That accusation has angered the president and tied up his administration with unwanted controversy. Showing his annoyance, the president tweeted over the weekend that he now believes Barack Obama himself ordered phone taps at the Trump Tower. So now all hell is breaking loose. Let's look at the facts. Unfortunately, there are only two facts in this whole swamp of accusations. Only two. First, the calls between General Michael Flynn and the Russian ambassador were tapped by somebody, and a portion of those conversations were given to the Washington Post. So who tapped the call? We don't know. Second fact is that President Obama allowed Attorney General Loretta Lynch to change the way U.S. intelligence agencies share unconfirmed data. That happened in January, just a few days before President Obama left office. Used to be the intelligence agencies would guard their secrets. Now, the NSA can give them to other agencies, even if the intelligence is not confirmed. The results? Leaks sprouting all over the place. Leaks that are damaging to the Trump administration. So why did President Obama change the intel standards? We don't know. But Donald Trump apparently believes it was to sabotage his incoming administration. That's it. That's the only factual information we can give you. All the rest is blather, opinion, propaganda, speculation. Now, the entire tawdry mess is based on the Russian hacking, which bedeviled the Clinton campaign. As stated, some anti-Trump people accuse the president and his acolytes of working with the Russians. But yesterday, the former director of national intelligence under President Obama said he found no evidence of that.
Does intelligence exist that can definitively answer the following question, whether there were improper contacts between the Trump campaign and Russian officials?
We did not include any evidence in our report, and I say our, that's NSA, FBI, and CIA with my office, the Director of National Intelligence, that had anything that had any reflection of collusion between members of the Trump campaign and the Russians. There was no evidence of that included in our report.
And that report was issued on January 6th. Also, a senator investigating the Russian deal said the same thing.
I know you've been briefed by FBI Director Comey and other members of the intelligence community and investigative community. You've seen no evidence so far of collusion.
Thus far, I have not. Now, we're still in the relatively early stages of our inquiry, and it will be thorough and wide-ranging and will follow the facts wherever they take us.
Senator Cotton will be here tomorrow night. So any fair-minded person has to acknowledge there's no evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, at least at this point. Correct? Now on to the tapping. In order for that to legally happen, a judge would have to issue a FISA warrant.
If the FBI, for instance, had a FISA court order of some sort for a surveillance, would that be information you would know or not know?
Yes.
You would be told this.
I would know that.
If there was a FISA court order
Yes.
on something like this.
Something like this, absolutely.
And at this point, you can't confirm or deny whether that exists?
I can deny it.
Well, it's pretty definitive. President Trump has asked for an investigation into the alleged tapping. We assume that'll happen, but this whole thing is terrible for the country. America's credibility is being damaged all over the world, and the federal government's ability to even operate is being impeded. So for the good of the country, perhaps we should tamp down the madness a bit. Let Congress do its job and investigate. Okay? And that's a memo. Now for the top story reaction, joining us from Arlington, Virginia, Newt Gingrich, who is not working for the Trump administration. He is a Fox News contributor. Where am I going wrong here, Mr. Speaker?
Well, I think you're largely right, but I want to go back to your very first point, which is there apparently was some kind of wiretapping or listening to the Russian ambassador and General Flynn. It was leaked, which is, by the way, a felony. And it's part of why you have this fury from President Trump. Every time he turns around, he's faced with a bureaucracy in which during the campaign, 95% of the bureaucrats' money was given to Clinton, 97% at the Justice Department, 99% at the State Department. He is surrounded by people who wish to destroy his administration. They are leaking like crazy. President Obama made it easier to leak in January. And I think if you were Donald Trump, you'd be pretty furious. And you'd feel like
I don't think there's anybody
going
to argue with that. All right? The facts are the facts. Based upon your government experience, will the two congressional committees investigating this, one Senate, one House, be able to find out who tapped the Russian ambassador and Flynn? Will that become apparent fairly quickly?
It will become apparent if they use their subpoena power and if Attorney General Sessions enforces that subpoena power.
Well, he certainly will.
But it's going to be a brawl. I mean, you know, because if you go back and look at Iran-Contra, which I lived through, or Watergate, which was before I came to Washington, eventually these committees can get through a lot of stuff.
Because that's the key, is it not?
We deserve to know.
That's the key, the whole case.
Yeah.
You have to find out who tapped Flynn and the Russian ambassador. You have to find out. You have to find out whether it was a legal tap.
And who else they were, by the way, who else they were tapping. Remember, you have this statement that there wasn't a FISA court approval, according to former Director
Clapper
of National Intelligence, Clapper. But if there wasn't, then who approved the tap that apparently picked up
That's what I'm
Flynn?
saying. This whole house of cards, everything falls down as soon as the congressional committees can find out who tapped the ambassador and Flynn, because Flynn was an American citizen. He didn't hold a government position then. All right? So they would have had to have gotten a warrant in order to do it. And if they didn't, now, it's possible, I guess, Russian intelligence was tapping, maybe, in a foreign country, but we have to know that's almost an act of war if that happened. So I want everybody, the reason I'm doing this with you. I don't think the Russian
intelligence tapped the Russian ambassador to leak it to the Washington Post.
Well, you don't know. I mean, it's possible. What I'm trying to do here is be as fair as humanly possible. The speculation surrounding this Russian Trump campaign makes me sick. Not because I'm a partisan, but because I'm a journalist. It makes me sick to hear every single day and read reports based on anonymous sources that go nowhere, that are purely there to destroy the current president. Do you feel as strongly about it as I do?
Oh, at least as strong. Look, the Washington Post's vicious assault on Attorney General Sessions the other night happened to come the day after Trump had a great day. He delivered a great speech. And you read what they actually wrote. It is such
garbage. Well, tell the audience what the vicious assault was.
That it is an embarrassment.
What was it, the vicious assault?
They have a headline that says, you know, Sessions met on 2 occasions with the Russian ambassador. One of the 2 occasions turns out to be a group of ambassadors at the convention as a group. The other happens to be a meeting by Sessions as a U.S. Senator on the Armed Services Committee in his office with 2 senior staff people. We now have pictures of Nancy Pelosi with the Russian ambassador.
Okay, but let's put politics aside. So you felt that the Washington Post's reportage, this wasn't an editorial, okay, was designed to hurt Attorney General Sessions and, by extension, President Trump.
It's part of the ongoing war of the Post and the New York Times against the Trump administration. Has nothing to do with journalism. It is an open war against somebody who they wish to destroy.
On the cables and the network news. What they write gets picked up, and the speculation or the out-of-context reportage then takes on a life of its own. And that's why Donald Trump is so angry. But he should not have said, unless he has proof, and maybe he does, that President Obama tapped Trump Tower, correct?
Well, that's right. He shouldn't have. But on the other hand, I don't know exactly what proof he has.
Yeah,
but
if he has proof,
I think you're going to cover this later on.
Go ahead.
That's right. But notice you're going to cover later on, I think, tonight, this whole issue at, I think, Middlebury College, where this professor is under assault for even inviting somebody. All of this stuff is growing because the left is going crazy in response to Donald Trump winning.
All right. But if the president doesn't have at least strong circumstantial evidence that Trump Tower was tapped, he should correct the record, because that, you know, one president lining up against another,
well,
almost unprecedented.
You just proved it was tapped. But, Bill, you proved yourself it was tapped. That's where the General Flynn was.
Interesting point. That's where General Flynn was. Very interesting point, Mr. Speaker. I knew there was a reason we had you on tonight. Thanks for helping us out.